think you are enlightened, try spending a week with your family. That's a quote from Ram Dass. Welcome to The Modern Creative Woman, exploring the art and science of creativity. I'm your hostess and creativity expert, Dr. Amy Backos. Let's get started. It is the month of gratitude, and this week in the United States, we are celebrating Thanksgiving. This is your chance to practice all that mindfulness, gratitude, and patience. Inside the Modern Creative Woman membership, we are working on appreciating ourselves and then extending that compassion and appreciation to others. Today on the podcast, we are talking about gratitude for our friendships, and I'll share some research that's come out in the last few years about friendships. And be sure and stick around till the end. I have 4 modern creative tips about how you can cultivate your friendships this month. If you have yet to join the 21-day gratitude challenge, I want to encourage you to join us. It's my hope that a 21-day gratitude challenge can contribute to a little more peace in the world. From a place of gratitude, we can move towards peace. And I hope you think of this challenge as a commitment to embark on a path of gratitude and appreciation, and just knowing that this is the first step towards a more peaceful world. Essentially, the challenge is bringing your awareness to the good in you, your family, and your community. So hop on over to themoderncreativewoman.com/gratitude challenge. The link is also in the show notes. It's free. You don't have to sign up for anything. It's unnecessary to give me your email or anything. You can just download your copy of the Gratitude Challenge Journal. It's got a little bit of writing, a little bit of art, some cool ways of thinking about gratitude. And I want you to share it. It's copyright free. You can give it to friends, family, students, clients. And I think this is the kind of personal work that we can do that allows us to radiate out more peace, more calm, more self-confidence. And gratitude improves so many aspects of our life. And if you're thinking about Paris, I want you to join my dear friend Aurora and I on November 27th. We're going to do a live conversation, and you can hear all about the trip, ask whatever questions you have about going to Paris. And if you're just thinking about going, now's a great time to see what might be in store, get curious about what your future might hold. We'll have style, art, creativity, art therapy, French cuisine, of course, some luxury location, powerful coaching. And I think the best part is real insider knowledge of Paris from a local, and the most inspiring total transformation packaged in a scavenger hunt. And Aurora and I have both curated many international trips. Research shows when we get out of our usual routine through traveling, our brains become more flexible and we're naturally able to shift how we think and change habits. That's why retreat is so essential. Here's 3 things I want you to know about the trip. It comes with 6 months of pre-trip coaching, and will help you focus your brain on creativity and transformation. And this also includes 2 individual sessions, a personal style consultation with Aurora, and an individual strengths assessment with me. The second thing I want you to remember about the retreat is you get to experience Paris from the eyes of a Parisian. And our activities have been carefully curated so that you can cultivate your creative spirit, beauty, style, art, cuisine. And finally, I want you to remember that this is a luxury retreat, which means it's all about you discovering what you consider luxury: time, space, art, aesthetics, making beautiful art, enjoying your time, going slow. And don't worry, you'll have plenty of time to explore the city based on your interests: shopping, dining, museums, sightseeing, and we'll help you figure out what is going to be most exciting. Sound good? Early bird pricing and 2 delightful French bonuses are yours when you register before the end of November. So I want to encourage you to register as soon as possible. And the link is in the show notes. You can always message me on Instagram at Dr. Amy Bacos and I can send you the detail. Let's talk friendships. Think of your bestie. Who's your best friend? Aren't they amazing? Now think of a casual friend, someone you see only occasionally or you have not such a deep connection with. And now think of a distant social relationship, maybe like your barista. Research has demonstrated that all of these kinds of relationships bring us value, they're good for us, and they help us with our mental and physical health. They can even help us live longer. This is serious stuff. Our social connections are essential. Many cultures tend to place a really high value on romantic love. Of course, in literature and poetry and film, we see romantic love as this ideal kind of love. And relationship problems or wanting a relationship are among the top reasons that people seek therapy. However, there's a lot of new research suggesting that stable, healthy friendships are not only enjoyable, they are crucial for our well-being and our longevity. This might be an example of science telling you what you already know. We all know that friendships make our lives more rich, more fun, certainly more meaningful. There's some post-pandemic research that shows people who lack meaningful friendships has gone from 3% of our population to 12% of our population. Many women tell me that they are craving community and connection, and especially after losing contact with friends and falling out of the practice of socializing in the pandemic. I was craving social connection almost immediately, and I started the beginnings of the Modern Creative Woman during the pandemic to keep up with community. And back then it was just a weekly Instagram live. You can find all those archives, and I'm still doing an IG live every Friday. You can find me at Dr. Amy Bacos on Instagram every Friday at noon Pacific time. And it made me really happy to see friends join me there, put their comments in the chat. And then I started to meet new people online and women who just kept joining on Fridays. And I started to become friends with online. People who have friends and close confidence are more satisfied with their lives. And a study in the American Journal of Psychiatry by Choi et al. In 2020 says that when we have friends and close confidence, we are less likely to suffer from depression. And that's really important for women. We are more likely to experience depression. Now, we're also less likely to die from all causes, including heart problems and other chronic diseases, when we have friends and close confidences. We live long. That's amazing. When people have a low social connection because they're isolated, they're experiencing the feeling of loneliness, or they have really poor quality relationships, they face an increased risk of premature death. It's heartbreaking. Now, fortunately, research also looks on the positive side, and it shows that friendships can be made and maintained at every single age. It's never too early or too late to work on friendship. And it is even demonstrated in the literature that our relationships with friends can strengthen or stand in for our desire for a romantic relationship. Now, even minimal social interactions can be quite powerful and have these health benefits. We'll talk more about that in a. There's research from around the world showing that having social connections is the most reliable predictor of a long, healthy, and satisfying life. That's amazing. Social connections is the most reliable predictor of a long, healthy, and satisfying life. There's a meta-analysis that came out this year, and it is looking at 38 studies, and this is Frontiers in Psychology. And they found that high-quality friendships that really give social support, companionship, those kinds of relationships significantly predict well-being. And these kinds of high quality friendships can protect against mental health issues like depression and anxiety. And these benefits, such as protecting us from mood disorders, are present all across the lifespan. It matters for us at every age. So these friendships that we cultivate really serve as a buffer to mental illness. Or another way to think of it, psychology uses the phrase protective factor. Friendships serve as a protective factor against anxiety and depression. There's an incredible study that came out in 2010, and it's almost shocking to think of this statistic. People with no friends or like a poor quality of friendship are twice as likely to die early. And having no friends is a risk factor that's even bigger than the effects of smoking 20 cigarettes a day. That's an incredible statistic, that it's toxic to our body if we are missing friendships. So what is it exactly about friendships that help us be mentally and physically healthy? It's in part because our friends help us respond to stress, and it changes the way we respond to stress when we're with a friend. The first aspect that I think is very interesting is about our blood pressure. We have like a less reactivity in blood pressure when we're talking to supportive friends. And even a casual friend that we feel it's so of a friend has some benefits, but when it's a supportive friend, it helps with our blood pressure. Now, in looking at facing a tough challenge, when we have a friend by our side while completing a tough task, we have less heart rate reactivity, which means we stay calm when our friends are with us. That makes sense. This is a fun study. When people judged a hill, like how steep is it, if they were standing with a friend and they were going to hike up the hill, they said, oh, it's not that steep. But if they were standing alone and they looked at the hill that they were presumably going to hike up, they say, oh, that's very steep. So having a friend with us helps us be more optimistic, and it helps lessen our perception of a stressful event or our ability to tackle an obstacle. That's incredible. In child development, the scientists found that friendships have similar brain activity in areas like motivation, reward, identity, and sensory processing, which means that we tend to find friends who have like a similar way of viewing the world, similar level of motivation. So what about those weaker friendships, casual interactions, or just the social conversations that we might have alone, like a chat with your barista? These kinds of connections with acquaintances have been shown to be surprisingly helpful. This is fun. People that have more of these kind of weak tie interactions, people that we don't really know, maybe. But the more interactions we have, the happier we are. When people have less of these kind of weak tie interactions, saying hi to the neighbor, chatting with the barista, we realized through the research that these people are less happy. And even chatting with a stranger, like the grocery clerk, is remarkably good for us. Talking to strangers really does increase our happiness. Here's why. These kinds of interactions with people we don't know as well or we only see occasionally give us something that our brains really love. Can you guess what it is? It's something that was missing quite a bit in the pandemic. It's novelty. Our brains really do like novelty and something interesting that's not the same conversation over and over again. This made me start thinking about an introvert who says, but I hate small talk. I always think of small talk as the doorway you have to open and cross through to get into deeper conversation. Research shows that even shallow conversations are not just fun and potentially meaningful, they help meet our social needs. So someone who is shunning a casual social interaction is not being very creative in how they get their social needs met. And I think people often avoid conversations with strangers, thinking it's going to be awkward or shallow, or they're just going to end up talking about the weather. Research shows that these kinds of worries are completely overblown. There's some cool research out of the University of Chicago, and Epley and his colleagues found that conversations with strangers tend to be less awkward, more enjoyable, and more connecting than people expect. And less surprisingly, people prefer having a deep conversation with strangers over a shallow one. So sometimes we're surprised by having a meaningful interaction with a stranger and we might dismiss it. Oh, it's just someone I met. Nothing meaningful could have come from that. But those kinds of conversations are deeply meaningful and they contribute to our health and well-being because we have this social interaction. Here's a fun bit of information. What about romantic relationships? Well, romantic relationships seem to be more fulfilling if they look more like friendships. And there's a really cool study from the British Household Panel Survey, and they looked at 8,000 respondents. And what they found was that life satisfaction was twice as high among people who said their spouse was also their best friend. So that's really encouraging to think about how can you make a romantic relationship more enjoyable with friendship qualities. So I was thinking about what would a modern creative woman do with all this information? What would she do in her friendships? How would she build community? And so I have 4 ideas, and they're based on the research I presented, and I paired it in my mind with research on how we create new habits and generate new feelings. And then, of course, there's a modern creative twist. Number 4, make an imaginary connection every single day. And to do this, I want you to savor a friendship, and I want you to build that into every day. So here's the assignment. While you brush your teeth in the morning, just think about a friend who you appreciate. Imagine their face and just recall how they bring value into your life. Scheduling it, pairing it with another existing habit, brushing your teeth in the morning, will help you remember. Third, make a literal connection every single day. So now we're going to pair this with your lunch. I encourage you to text, call, send a card, send a little doodle in the mail to someone that you care about. My mom just sent me a gorgeous drawing. It was amazing. It made me so happy. So wouldn't you love to get a drawing in the mail? Like how fun to receive a little doodle from a friend. Listen, don't worry about what your art looks like. Your friend will love it. Okay, number 2. A modern creative woman would work her social brain every chance she gets because we know it's so good for our health, physically and mentally. We need to get into practice. It's like building a muscle, working out every day. So this involves talking to people, like at the coffee shop. It means avoiding the self-checkout line so that you have to say hello to the clerk. Making eye contact is such a primitive part of connecting with other people. When you make it to the front of the line, say hello to the clerk, make eye contact. You can say hi to your neighbors. I always make it a point to get to know my neighbors a little bit. And of course, you already know this one. Put down your phone. Put it away when you're out. You can stand in line, put your phone away, and chit-chat with someone that you're in line with. Why would you do all this? Well, it's to promote your brain health, which is good for your creativity. And it also promotes your physical health. Remember, you're going to live longer. You're going to have more satisfaction with your life when you cultivate these little social interactions. Now, it might be uncomfortable at first to chat, about the weather or ask what book the person is reading, but you can just get creative here. You can ask about something they're wearing. If they like the new peppermint mocha, you can just smile and say hi. It doesn't matter what people say back or if they chat with you in return. You made that effort to connect, and that's going to help you. Okay, here's my number 1 tip. Modern creative women can sometimes get busy. So every Sunday evening, I want to encourage you to pull out your calendar and schedule your friend visits. We tend to prioritize work and family and feel that, being busy is some kind of badge of honor or it's expected of us. I think it's really essential that we schedule a few social outings each month. I like to go for once a week to see a friend. And you can go somewhere new. You could invite a friend to join you on your artist date. You can invite someone over to tea. It's essential that we prioritize this for our longevity, our heart health, lower blood pressure, less depression, less anxiety. And women's friendships have such powerful protective factors for our health and well-being. Do let me know who you're socializing with and who you're grateful for. Start telling your friends. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week and you take the time to socialize and cultivate your friendships in meaningful ways. And remember, even the more superficial conversations are good for us. So now that you know how important it is to cultivate friendships and stay in touch with people, what will you create? Do come join me and the Modern Creative Woman on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at Dr. Amy Backos. And if you like what you're hearing on the Modern Creative Woman podcast, I want to give you the scoop on how you can support the podcast. You can be an ambassador. Just share the podcast link with 3 of your friends. You could be a community supporter and leave a 5-star review if you think it's worth the 5 stars. And of course, you can become a Gold Star supporter for as little as $3 a month. And that helps me pay the cost of producing. All these links are in the show notes. So grab your free copy of the 21-Day Gratitude Challenge. Link is in the show notes. You can find it at moderncreativewoman.com/gratitude challenge. Come learn about Paris. Have a wonderful week. And I cannot wait to talk to you in the next episode about the art and science of your creativity. I'll see you next time.